there. Today I am speaking with Tejas Puranik. He is our Senior Director of Product Marketing and Compliance. Tejas is a wealth of knowledge about many things, quality management, and also ISO certification. We're going to talk today about the importance of ISO certification, Intellect's own process on how we became ISO certified, and what companies who are looking to be ISO certified can do to kickstart that process. So thank you, Tejas, for joining me today.
Absolutely. Yeah, happy to be here.
All right. Well, why don't we start off by maybe you can explain to everybody why ISO certification matters. What does it mean for Intellect and any organization who wants to get ISO certified?
Absolutely. So, that's a great question. So, first of all, why ISO matters? I would say it in two words, continuous improvement. It's all about the continuous improvement in the world of quality. So, why it matters for Intellect? Well, first of all, Intellect got ISO certified to four ISO standards: ISO 9001, which is a QMS standard; ISO 14001, which is an environmental standard; ISO 45001, which is an occupational health and safety standard; and ISO 27001, which is an information security standard. So why does it really matters for us? Because it showcases the commitment of delivering the consistent high quality solutions and services to our customers. These standards let actually validate our own processes and ultimately kind of builds that confidence and that trust with our customers, who are actually going to be using the QMS software. Um, why does it matter for organizations? Is because they want to showcase their excellence in quality, right? It's all about the operational efficiency or reducing risk or making sure their customers are satisfied with whatever services our customers are providing. So this standard kind of like puts a nice framework around the product itself, the services, the customer satisfaction, and how you can keep on fine tuning those processes to make sure whatever you're delivering in terms of products and services is going to be always a thumbs up from your customer. So that's, in a nutshell, I think, it's all about making sure you drive your customers' requirements, making sure you keep them happy, you keep your customers satisfied with whatever products and services you're providing. So ISO will give you a nice framework, nice, tool to make that happen.
All right. And you mentioned ISO 9001 and Intellect is certified too. And the other standards, what are they and what do they cover?
Yeah, so 9001 is a QMS, quality management system standard. The other standards that Intellect actually got certified to was 14001, which is an environmental standard. So it has, some standards and requirements, especially around like environmental activities or events. We have also got certified to 45001, which is an occupational health and safety standard, which talks about, hey, if there's an earthquake or if there's a natural calamity, how does that work with your employees? What kind of regulations, what kind of requirements or controls have you put together to make sure your occupational employees, health and safety is paramount, right, for the company? So what kind of tools and processes you have established? And finally, it's ISO 27001, which is an information security standard. So since Intellect is a software company, right? We are in the SaaS business. We want to make sure our software has enough controls for our customers to use. So we got ISO 27001 certified, making sure that we have people controls, we have management controls, we have technology controls. Everything is like check, check, check for 27001, and that's how we got certified. Yeah.
I know in this digital age, 27,001 is becoming more important to many
Oh
companies.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as when we are looking at these computer softwares, the tools out there, everyone's always concerned about security. Is my data secure? Is my data not being used outside? For like in this case, AI, right? I mean, we all talk about AI. So 27001 will talk about what Intellect has done in to make sure what controls they have put together to secure customers' data.
All right. So for those who maybe are going through it or have not yet started their ISO compliance journey, can you explain what it took? Like, how did Intellect begin? What were the key steps that we followed as a company to earn our certifications?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, keep in mind, this is going to be a little bit of a long journey for you to be an ISO certified company, but Do not lose your hope, right? So the way we kind of got ISO certified, and since we kind of went after four standards altogether, we had a centralized system that we created, and we call this as IMS, Integrated Management System. We created in-house. So we created like a seven-step process, if you will, and those seven steps were like the first and foremost is you gotta have a leadership commitment. Your senior leadership should, be giving you thumbs up. You should have a buy-in from them, and make sure they align resources. They have enough resources and strategic alignment with the roadmap for the company for the business. So that's number one. The second step in the process would be performing a gap analysis. ISO has created its own requirement sets of standards, right? How do you perform today? How far are you from the standards requirements? Do like a quick gap analysis on where, and then start identifying like, hey, here's the gap. Here's a gap in the customer success team. Here's the gap in our SDLC process. Here's the gap in our sales and marketing department. Once you start identifying those gaps, address those gaps, establish processes. So the step three would be creating documentation, right? Policies and procedures. And when I say establish, this is a unique keyword created by standards and regulation out there. When they mean establish, that means document, implement, and get people trained on it. It's not just creating a document, implement the process, get people trained on that particular process. So that's really your step four, like training and awareness. Where you ask your employees, to go to that set of documentation, make them aware of the standards, the regulations that you're going after. What does it really mean in terms of compliance? And pretty much test their competence on their trainings. Now, those are the top four, like leadership commitment, gap analysis, establishing documentation, training, and awareness. Now, the fifth one is about now you have taken enough steps to document all these processes. Let's validate those processes. So you will run something called as an audits. Now, you will have an internal audit that your internal auditors will verify or validate your company's processes and employees' trainings and competence. Once that is done, then you will also be required to perform a management review, which is, it's a requirement from all the ISOs. So internal audits, management review, and finally the certification audit itself. So where, your certification partner is going to come in and they're going to audit you. So that's going to be considered your external audit. So like I said, we actually followed this system. We created our own system. So seven-step process, leadership commitment, gap analysis, establishing documentation, training and awareness, performing internal audits, doing the management reviews, and then finally your external audits, which is going to be through your certification partner. So that's how we got ISO certified for 4 ISOs all together at once. And I will recommend this approach, to the companies who are seeking out ISO certification and want to have like a structured approach. This seven-step process definitely works. We have a good example for ourselves, right? It worked for us and we got ISO certified.
All right. Yes. And I wasn't on the ISO, management or planning team, but as somebody who, went through some of that training and had to help with the documentation, we actually, I know if many people know this, we used our own QMS to
Great point.
prepare, manage our ISO certification and during audits.
Yes, great point, Raquel. Yes, we used our own QMS software in-house to create those documents to make sure, those documents are controlled in the right manner. They're released in the system and then people get trained on it. We also used our own system to perform internal audits. We also used our own system to perform management reviews. So everything was documented in or, kind of tracked in one software, which is, we use our own software, Intellect QMS. So that would be also an easy way to do it instead of doing it in on an Excel file in a SharePoint, pen and paper based systems. It's not efficient when when you're looking at software systems out there. These are meant to help you, so definitely leverage all the systems as you can. That's always going to be your go-to guide. Yeah.
So for those companies who, do want to get started, maybe they have their management on board you had mentioned and doing that gap analysis, but they might need some help. How can Intellect support them?
Yeah, no, great question. So how can Intellect support them? So first of all, our software, QMS software, is kind of designed to be in compliance with ISO, with FDA, with EU regulations. So you can, of course, talk to one of our, team members, one of our experts. But beyond that, when you look at our software, it's already designed to be in compliance with 9001, 13485, 14971, 17025. I can name so many standards out there. The way we design this software will allow you to be in compliance with, the standards and regulations out there. So that's checked. Because what happens is when you want to go after an ISO certification or you want to make sure you are, meeting requirements of FDA, you got to understand the requirement. You got to understand the standard, right? That's the key. If you don't understand like what the requirements are talking about, then it's not going to be a time where you will put so many of your resources or put in so much of an effort. It's going to be just wasted. So try to understand the requirement first. Try to understand what FDA wants you to be in compliance with, what ISO tells you to be in compliance with. Once you have a clear identification of those requirements, then start doing that gap analysis, which I talked about of that 7-step process. But understanding the requirement and aligning with your existing processes is key for getting certified or getting started.
We do have a webinar coming up soon on changes to ISO 9001. I guess that's a question. How do companies deal with changes in standards, and how can they adapt to them?
Yeah, no, great question. So, how do companies deal with these changes? So, first of all, make sure again understand the requirements and standard. Keep yourself abreast of this, the changing standards. Typically, ISO likes to change their standards on an average of 6 to 7 years. So they don't change those standards every year or every other year. That's not what ISO does. FD, on the other hand, doesn't change those requirements every year other, but they always have those guideline documents out there. So if you pull up, ISO 9001 guidelines, if you pull up 21 CFR Part 11 guidelines, that will kind of break it down on how the standards were written and what kind of requirements you need to be, putting together, meeting those requirements to be in compliance. So that's kind of your, go-to place to make sure that, changing regulations, changing standards, and what does it really mean? One thing I would also add here as kind of like, one of the closing statements is ISO or, getting certified, getting, compliance with regulations is not once and done type of a thing. It's iterative, right? Yes, you will get certified, fantastic, check. But then you will also be evaluated every year. You will have a recertification audit. So maintaining the certification is also a key. It's also a key to making sure you still keep on building that in a continuous improvement approach, building that confidence, that trust with your customers. So don't treat ISO as, hey, it's done. I'm good to go. I got ISO certified. No, that's not how ISO standard works. Yes, you got certified. You showcase now that you have a standard procedures established. Fantastic. But now you have to keep on reiterating on those procedures, drive your continuous improvement on those procedures by performing internal audits or, whenever you get audited by your certification partner. So keep that in mind when you're, achieving an ISO standard.
Very good point. Well, thank you so much, Tejas. We definitely appreciate your time. If anyone would like more resources on ISO standards, how our QMS software can help you achieve and maintain compliance with ISO and other standards, you can visit our website at intellect.com.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you.
All right, thank you.